The Under the Hood Show is heard weekly on this and other great radio stations across the U.S. Find out how you can participate in the show by visiting underthehoodshow.com.
With Russ Evans, this is Shannon Nordstrom, thanking you for tuning in to the Nordstrom's Under the Hood Show. Have a great day, and remember, PTLA.
The opinions heard on this program, based on the many years of experience of Russ and Shannon, are offered for entertainment value only and as a guide to your repair needs. No claim to repair or cause is given or implied. Always consult with your own certified technician and follow all safety procedures before attempting any repair. To be a part of the show, call 866-594-4150. Under the Hood is produced by Prairie House Productions. All content is the property of Nordstrom's Automotive Incorporated and may not be used without our permission. Copyright Nordstrom's Automotive, Inc. Now, let's go under the hood with the Nordstrom's Motor Medics.
Welcome to the Under the Hood Show. We are glad to have you with us. Russ Evans is here to answer your automotive questions.
Thanks for joining us Under the Hood.
Shannon Nordstrom theoretically here to answer your automotive questions.
Yeah, I just saw him run down across the hall on the other side, which means about another minute for him to get all the way around the corridor here.
Yeah, we got hallways here. We should hear him coming, I think. Shouldn't we?
Yeah,
I
there he is.
Here he goes.
Yep.
3,
oh, there's a door.
2, 1. Thanks. Hoodies, tune in right now. You're on. Say it.
Welcome to Hoodies.
Thanks. I forgot to turn on your mic.
There we go.
And then I blew it.
That's all right.
I blew it.
Welcome, Hoodies. Thanks for tuning in so we can help you tune up.
The phone number to reach us, 866-594-4150. It's good to be back.
It's good to have the gang together again.
Yeah. I was gone last week doing Radiothon for Children's Miracle Network.
How did everything turn out? I did not get a chance to tune in.
It turned out very well. It was we were back in the Children's Hospital for me for the first time in like 4 years. So it was very emotional and a cool place to be back at. If you've never been to Sanford Children's in Sioux Falls, it is a castle. It's a full castle. And we did find out that it is not officially a castle because no one lives there. There are no lairds that live there, and there is no military defense. There's no defense system set up. And I said that there's regular hospital protocol, so maybe that part is covered.
Could you put an aquarium of small reptiles outside and call it a defense? Like instead of a moat with crocodiles, just a small aquarium.
Like newts.
So is the security guards, they don't count? They're like mall cops?
That's what we were discussing. Does that count as defense?
They're armed. I would think that would be...
It's close to an actual
just not
legal
quite military
term
size.
castle. 866-594-4150. Let's talk to Neil. Neil, you're on the Under the Hood Show. What can we do for you?
Hey, good morning. My folks have a 2008 Toyota RAV4. And what happened is earlier this year, they had a oil filter failure. Just started dumping out oil and everything. Well, fast forward, now we've got some engine noise, and they do not drive it very much at all. I mean, it's got less than 42,000 miles on it. Just trying to figure out what we should do going forward, because the Kelly Blue Book it books for like 6,500 to 7,500. A used engine putting in would be 5,500. Rebuilt is 7,500. So we're just kind of trying to figure out options.
Well, to me, what I tell our customers when they need to put an engine in a car, I say, do you like your car? And they say, well, yeah, I love my car, but it's only worth $7,500. I don't want to spend $7,500 to fix it. I'll just go buy another one. And then I say, okay, well, if you really like your car and you're going to go buy another one for $75, but you could fix yours for $75, do you really want somebody else's problem? Do you want to go buy one for $75 and risk having an engine with no warranty, a transmission with no warranty, whatever it is you're replacing on yours, for the same amount of money, just for the convenience of buying it right now today? And then what do you do with yours? You've got to dispose of that somehow, and is there any money owed? So in a lot of cases, whatever you can get it repaired for, you're gaining. So you're buying, instead of buying somebody else's car at the same amount that it would be to fix yours, you're basically buying a brand new engine in yours if you go with the rebuilt one with that 3-year, 100,000 mile warranty, and you already know how the rest of the car works. You go, hey, I've been driving this every day. I know the transmission's solid. I've got good tires. I've already, I know the struts, those things. But when you buy another one, we have had a number of customers that decided to get rid of a car when they could, let's say their car booked for $15,000, but instead of fixing it for $6,000 or $7,000, they got rid of it cheap, bought another one for even more money than it would have cost to fix theirs, and within a month they were putting an engine in that other car for thousands of dollars. So it's kind of a crapshoot out there. You just don't know what other cars are going to be like, even if you inspect them. A thorough used car inspection. I've seen some people do a lot of diligence and really inspect a car thoroughly, and it came up with a sudden problem.
And then something just happens.
It just happens. So if you really like your car and you don't like the idea of massive payments and all that and getting into something different that you just don't know about, you're not comfortable with, I'd stick with your car and fix it. And that Toyota, they hold their value for a long time. I got one customer that's got 400,000 on their RAV4, and they're just.
I got to ask a question here because obviously you guys saw I came in late. You noticed, right? But this, what did you say this had for miles?
It's got 42,000, less than 40.
Okay.
There's no way I would get rid of that
There's no
car.
way I'd get rid of that vehicle. And if I did get rid of it, I would put it on an advertising site at a premium, as is, with a bad motor, not your typical scrap vehicle price.
Nope.
I would put it out there as a premium and say, hey, we have a 40,000 mile vehicle. And this would be my situation. Russ, I'm going to dovetail what you said. You got to look at the demand for the vehicle. If this is a third vehicle you really don't need, you think about it different. If it's a primary vehicle you really need, Russ's advice is right on point, especially when you tell me this thing's only got 40,000 miles on it. You're going to pay way over Blue Book.
You're going to pay over $10,000 for that with a rebuilt engine with 42,000 miles.
If the miles were actual and this wouldn't have happened, you would get a premium for that vehicle.
Yeah, over 10.
And so you got to throw the book out. It's because that's an exceptional vehicle if it looks as good as those miles are. You know what I mean? And so I'd fix it.
Hard pressed to find a scratch on it.
Yeah, no, I'd fix it, and I would also, if I didn't fix it, I would be advertising it for a premium. I would put it out there for sale for $2,000 or $3,000 as is, and you'd find somebody that might buy it and go in and dig into the motor themselves. They might rebuild it. They might, if they know that it was just a light bearing scarring from the oil going away, they might open it up. There's people that'll do that stuff, but you've got to look at the rules different when you have that low of a mileage vehicle.
Neil, thanks very much for the call. Yeah, that is a different. And I will say this, in general, except I don't think it applies to this vehicle, a vehicle with that few miles. There was a while there where the Blue Book value, and I use that term loosely, even online hadn't caught up with the actual price of vehicles nowadays. That's kind of settled down now.
It has, except for low mileage Toyotas and Hondas.
Absolutely.
That will always be a premium.
Absolutely. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we want to hear from you. The phone number to reach us, 866-594-4150.
Be sure to visit our website for news, contests, and previous shows at underthehoodshow.com. Welcome back, everybody. It's time to get back under the hood with the Motor Medics.
866-594-4150. That's the number to reach us here at the Under the Hood Show. Let's talk to Austin in Minnesota. Oh, I wish he were in Austin, Minnesota, but I bet he's not. Austin, you're on the Under the Hood Show. What can we do for you?
Morning, gentlemen.
It would even be better if he was in the parking lot of the Spam Museum, as he called us, the Austin Museum.
Austin, are you in the parking lot of the Spam Museum?
No.
Just say yes. We'd all be
along.
We would be so happy.
Be happier than a can of Spam.
That's right. What can we do for you, Austin?
2003 Chevy 2500 HD. I have been fighting electrical gremlins in this truck for about 3 years now. I have cleaned all the grounds, new battery, new gauge cluster, park neutral safety switch on the transmission. I did alternator, aftermarket radio, and I'm still having problems. And as of right now, you turn the key and nothing happens, and I'm basically looking for guidance to going forward.
I want to jump in here quick and apologize to Austin. And I'll tell you why.
Why?
Because when you call the show, we say, hey, go ahead, get right to your question. We'll just go, right? But people get on the air, they get nervous, or we talk. And Austin was ready to go with his question, and then we waylaid him.
And we weren't. We wanted to have fun.
Right. And then, not only that, but we have calls coming in. We don't have time to kill today. And now I'm doing this. This is...
So you're double killing time.
Yeah, we really are wrecking this.
Stop.
Okay, Austin has a truck. Go ahead.
Well, you got me on that one.
When you go to start this and you turn that key, what is the nothing that happens? No lights, no crank,
Describe
no start.
nothing.
What is it? Because some people say, well, it cranks, but there's no start, so there's nothing.
So you turn the key on, gauge comes on. It does for the year readout or the mileage readout. And then it says service ABS, service 4-wheel drive. And then you hit the key to actually crank, and absolutely nothing happens. Everything goes black.
Yeah, one of those. Do you have any codes in this thing? Have you scanned it? The whole system, like the engine, the body, all of it?
The last scan we got was for throttle body.
Okay. But what about the other systems in the vehicle, the ABS and all that? Did you scan the whole thing or just the engine?
I scanned the whole thing, and that's the only thing that came up.
Interesting.
Kind of makes you back to base electrical again.
Well, I don't know. There's not that many things that fail on one of those trucks that, the things he mentioned, yes. But that leaves the ignition switch and the body control module. Those are a couple things that are common to fail in that truck, and also the ignition lock cylinder, which is where the security is. So I'm wondering when you turn that key to start, have you noticed if that lock symbol is lit on the dash? This looks like a little picture of a padlock blinking or lit.
It does not come up.
Does not come on at all?
No.
Boy. Well, here's what you need to do then. When you turn that key and nothing comes on, verify you do have power at the wires that should have power at the ignition switch, like your starter wire, your ignition wire, the main hot wires coming in. You can do that with back probing it with just a multimeter at the switch. If you've got all the power there, go out to the ignition relay under the hood, the starter relay, and make sure that clicks. Because if that does not click under that hood when you turn that key, then we got more problems going on, because the body control module is taking into account what gear position the transmission's in, what position the key's in, and it's passing all that info along. And it sounds to me like if you've got a good switch and you don't have it, the starter relay is not kicking in, that you may have a problem in the body control module. We've put a number of body control modules in 03 and 04 Chevy trucks, Tahoes, Suburbans, Yukons. It's common. They do fail, and they'll go back and forth. They won't just quit 100% all the time. They will go back and forth, and that can be caused by a battery that was poor, a poor connection to a battery. All the time you see these batteries that are corroding on the top, and that makes the connection weak enough that can cause a problem. So it may have been something caused by another issue, but it may be that you have a bad body control module in there now, and it's just not reading the security. If I had a scanner plugged into it, I could read the data as I turn the key to see if start was allowed and what was going on there. And that's something you might have to work with somebody who has a scanner while it's not starting, to kind of get an idea of what the computer sees.
And also double check your fuse block under the hood, just to make sure that, lift that up, make sure that the bulkhead connectors, I'd unplug them and replug them again.
Yeah.
And just make sure everything gets a new, fresh connection there, if you haven't done that yet. And we do see some occasional internal failures in there that can change power routing and things like that. But this problem sounds different than that. But I would, if you haven't done that, I would take that step.
Austin, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. 866-594-4154. Let's talk to Irv. You're on the End of the Hood Show. Irv, what can we do for you?
Morning. Got a 2011 Avenger. I got a little problem with the heater. When you got it set on your feet, and it's my daughter's car, so I can't make it redo it when I'm working on it. But she says when she gets down the road, it switches to defrost, and she cannot get it to go back to her feet, but it will go to like vent. So I opened up the glove box and watched it move. Everything looks smooth. The actuator's not making any, clicking or tickings or nothing like that. I did get it set to the feet, and then I unplugged the actuator and told her to, try it for a day. And she said, yeah, it stayed on the feet. But when I plugged it back in, then she said she kind of pretty much had the same problem. Just kind of looking for a little guidance.
Well, the two components you have is the actuator motor itself in there, which moves because it moves and you can unplug it and it quits. So that leaves a broken door out because the door wouldn't move at all when you're messing with it. And then the control in the dash. We've seen both of them fail. Usually it's the
There's
motor.
Nothing else in between them.
No, you got, so that dash control is the computer for that whole system. It takes inputs of temperature sensors from the ducts, outside air temperature, and then wherever you turn it with your hand, of course, and it relays that to that actuator motor. So if the motor if the motor is moving, it doesn't mean it's good. There's a feedback sensor in there that tells the dash control what position it's in. And if you've got it set on floor and the car is bouncing around going on the road, just some slight vibrations from the engine and the radio cranked and all that kind of stuff, it may be that it's sensing it's in the wrong position or it doesn't know what position it's in. When it loses contact for that feedback sensor, the default
defrost.
So when that defrost comes on, it's saying it's not working.
Yep, it's saying, hey, I don't know what position I'm in, so crank this motor all the way to the 0 position, which is defrost, because that's safety. We need to clean the windshield above all else. We don't care how cold your feet are. We want the windshield clean. So it's moving, which tells me that the motor control wiring is good for the motor itself, and it's moving it back there. I bet the feedback circuit in the motor has failed, and you'll need to replace it. As cheap as those motors are, a lot of people opt to just buy one first and put in.
If they're in the accessible positions.
Yeah.
Some of them you can't get at real easy.
Not too bad. I mean, it looks like you dropped the glove box open, and it's up there. I mean, I think
you can get it out of there with a little short. There's some short. You can actually. I just got a toolkit at a local. I think I got it at Menards or something. It was a Black Friday deal, but it's a little small, and some of the guys in the shop got theirs too when they were out shopping. It was like $9, $10, and it's got this little flat ratchet. I mean, it's like a 1/4 inch thick, and then it has inserts for the different sockets, and these sockets are about a 1/4 inch tall as well. So
like a low clearance 1/4 inch drive.
It's great. Yeah, anything you can get, any cool tool that's super cheap doesn't mean it's garbage because it's cheap. It means, hey, I can use it. Even if I could only use that tool one time and had to throw it in the garbage after taking an actuator motor out,
it might be worth it.
That would be worth it. You bet.
Irv, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. 866-594-4150. Let's talk to Jason in California. Jason, you're on the End of the Hood Show. What can we do for you?
Hi, thank you for taking my call. Got a 2014 Toyota Corolla. And when I'm driving and I come to a stop sign or a stoplight, the car, I'll be sitting there idling, and the RPMs, were at say 900, and they'll drop a couple hundred down to like 700, so 900, 700, and then shoot back up after a second or so back to normal idle. And there's no check engine light, there's no any other type of light on. It doesn't feel like it's misfiring or anything like that. So I was hoping you guys can point me in the right direction to fix it.
Have you done anything since the last time you checked with us when you were having a misfire concern? I think that's the same car, right?
Yeah. I did inspect the coils, inspect the injectors. It's really weird. Like like there might be a misfire, but I'm not feeling it. And the car drives pretty good. It gets up and goes. It doesn't give me any hesitations or hiccups or anything.
Sure.
There's no sputtering, I feel. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I'm funny how you guys remember that.
Yeah, we keep track of most of the stuff in here. I'm thinking you may have as many as these cars have we seen with a throttle body problem on it. It's very possible it's either just very dirty and you need to clean it with like some Berryman B12 chem tool and then disconnect the battery for about 4 or 5 minutes, hook it back up again, and then drive it. Or the throttle body might just be bad. Google that, because there's a large number of people that have had this issue, and there's a lot of great YouTube videos about it out there.
And don't forget to check engine health if you haven't done that yet.
Yep, leak down test.
Just general,
just the health of the cylinders.
Jason, thanks very much for the call. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we want to hear from you on the Under the Hood Show. 866-594-4150.
Prepare to learn something. You're going under the hood.
Welcome back to the Under the Hood Show. If you subscribe to our YouTube channel and join the Hoodie Fan Club at underthehoodshow.com, you could win a hoodie.
Crash Mulvaney wins the hoodie this week. Congratulations from our friends over at Universal Technical Institute, uti.edu.
That had to be an accident that he won.
Why?
I love it. I'm on board with this one.
You think he just crashed right into a hoodie?
I think that's a home run over there.
That was beyond dad joke, wasn't it?
That was full on right there. I was right with you.
Oh.
Who did you mention who brings us?
I was so eager to say it. I cut him completely off.
Shannon needs a ticket for that.
And I stopped
probably don't show those on the air.
I stopped cold when you said that.
Definitely not going to impersonate. I couldn't do that. I'm not that not up to that.
Nice
quality.
gift from a hoodie.
Yeah.
Universal Technical Institute.
UTI.edu.
Yeah,
that's gonna be your Christmas present, Chris. I'm gonna sign you up. We're gonna send you down and you're gonna.
I'm in. I did ask my son. We went to the football game. He's here from Florida, and it was
what football game was that?
SDSU. It was as cold as I've been in a long time because it's like the first cold day we spent. We were all dressed appropriately, but it was just the first one.
But
so
it was a 45-mile-an-hour wind.
Yeah. And I asked him, what's worse, this or August in Florida? And he said, August in Florida.
No way.
Yeah, that's what he said.
No way.
I don't know if he'll stick to that after.
I always thought Oscar was a
3
truth
hours
teller. I think that's not a truth teller.
I was down there this year in August. It was pretty rough.
I'll take August in Florida.
Let's go to Kentucky and talk to Michael. You're on the End of the Hood Show. Michael, what can we do for you?
Yes. So I have a 2002 F-150 with the 5.4 Triton. And it seems like it's more so on cold starts. But I've also noticed that, like, when I'm stopped at traffic lights at idle, the PCV valve will sit there and, like, buzz. And I know it's the PCV valve because I fired it up before, popped the hood, because it just makes this, like, vibrating, buzzing noise. When I pull the hose off the PCV valve, it quits. And as soon as I put it back on, it'll start doing it again. But doesn't do it all the time. And I've put 2 PCV valves in because they're fairly affordable. Just thinking maybe I got a bad one out of the box. And then I have no idea if the first one was original to the truck or not. So, but I'm just wondering, is it possible that I have had 3 bad valves, or is there? I got something else going on.
I don't think it's bad valves. I think what's going on is that you're at a crossroads of vacuum inside of the crankcase and pressure inside of the crankcase. You're not at the point where you've got so much blow by that it's overcoming the PCV and you're getting more out than in, but you're also not getting a vacuum. I bet if you pull that off and check it, or not pull the PCV off, but pull the vent off the other side, usually you pull the cap. If you pull the cap off, you can check it. You should have a piece of paper should lightly stick to that to the crankcase at any time you open a port in it without sucking it in or without it falling off. And I'm guessing you're probably right in between where that valve is. It's not sucking shut. It's not staying open. It's just back and forth. And that'll be fine if the engine runs well. And it's usually quite a while until it starts. We see them in the position where most of them, when they come into our shop, are not in a good negative pressure, but they're not burning any oil yet. So they're kind of right in between. The 5.4 is not real famous for burning a lot of oil. It's famous for other issues.
Yeah, they usually walk the crank or they'll get main bearing issues, that kind of stuff.
So if it's just a little noise, and you probably can only hear it when the hood's open, right?
No, I can hear it sometime in the driver's seat when I first get in the truck, if like the radio's off and stuff. I mean,
can you just turn the radio up?
That's what I do.
Usually what I've been doing.
play the oldies, like Ozzy Osbourne, Motley Crue.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything else for us is there anything else in that system that could be?
Not unless it's got a vacuum leak. I mean, or carbon buildup. If carbon buildup on a throttle body or in the PCV hose can cause this as well. Anything that changes the airflow of that. Hey, even a dirty air filter can do this. If you've got an air filter, I had one that was doing it, and I pulled the air filter out and changed it just because it was time. I went, oh, hey, my noise went away, so I put it back in. Oh.
Just wait till he opens it up and he's got like a mouse nest in there, and he's like, my gosh, that's it. Or he's got an aftermarket air filter that's oiled and it's just like caked. It can't breathe.
Mm-hmm.
That can happen too. So yeah, take a look at those things. But otherwise, I probably wouldn't worry about it too much, and it'll probably be another 5,000 to 10,000 miles. It'll change.
But just to go back through his checklist, confirm airflow through the air intake system.
No leaks.
Make sure you got no vacuum leaks, no crusty hoses that are falling off the nipples or whatever it might happen to be, and just inspect that whole system. You're getting pretty old.
No Pepito, the Christmas mouse.
Right? I don't know.
Yes, producer Doug got
Doug's
it.
on the Pepito, the Christmas mouse.
We need an explanation on that one, I think, Russ.
It's very old.
Did you see his panic?
1980. I think it was 1980 when that came out. So that's old enough.
He had a bit of he made a reference even he couldn't elaborate on.
I had forgotten about Pepito the Christmas Mouse that my parents used to play on that album until my wife picked up the album at the Last Stop CD shop downtown.
Oh my gosh,
She's like, great. This looks cute. It's Pepito the Christmas Mouse.
Michael, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. Merry Christmas.
We always had a Christmas ornament on our tree in our bachelor pad that was the dressed mouse. I don't know where it came from, but it was a little mouse, and he had like clothes on, and he was always
who was the donkey?
The tree, the dressed.
Do you
mouse.
remember the donkey was on the other side of the album?
Dominic the donkey.
Dominic the donkey.
You didn't know?
Oh, I know that one.
Yes,
was it Dominic the donkey?
Yes. Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
I don't live enough.
Let's go to Mississippi and talk to Terrell. Bring us back to the car show, Terrell. What can we do for you?
Hey, how you doing there?
Good.
I got a 2017 GMC Sierra 1500, and I'm getting fast. On the turn signals, they making fast, and everything working. But I found out that somebody replaced the tail lights in it, and they used the old harness, out of something else, and tied it in there. You think that could be the reason why they all working and everything, but you think that could be the reason it's doing the fast braking?
Yeah, the resistance has got to be just right. So if they've changed tail lights, changed the harness, and it doesn't have the right resistance in there, you can usually fix that by adding some resistors. And really the cheapest and fastest way to do it, and the only place I found them, go to Amazon, type in LED fast flash, and you'll come up with probably 1,000 different.
Because somebody's
things.
Got it in their description of what they're trying to sell.
And it just plugs into the harness, and it adds enough load that it slows down the fast blink. A lot of these, I'll just call them what they are. They're very cheap, kind of junky aftermarket tail lights and parking lights and headlights that work for a while, and then they're cheap enough you can put a new one in after 6 months when they quit. They have resistors in them that are junk. They burn out and they start to flash fast. So now they sell this aftermarket piece you could put in and extend the life of your
junk
for a while, and you're good. But in your case, where you've got some factory stuff, yeah, you could probably just add the resistor and fix it. Mine flashed fast after I got almost a year out of my lights, but I needed something in the front because those LEDs always burned out on my Tahoe in the center, the driving lights. So I got a whole unit that came with the driving light that was LED, and I was like, great. They've lasted a long time, but now they're blinking fast. One did it, and then the other side did it. So I bought the resistors, plugged them in line, and it's fixed. It was like $8 for a pair.
Real, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. It is amazing how Amazon Prime specifically has altered my willingness to try things and my putting up with lesser things because I tried them. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. If you try it yourself and it doesn't work, too bad. I wasted $20. If you spend $50 for a shop to do it and it doesn't work, you're demanding that they get it right.
How could you make this mistake? But when I do it, totally. And I'll try all sorts of stuff. It's got a different part number, but it's super close.
Any recent examples?
Well, no. No. Yes, but no.
Not going to talk about it.
Let's move on. Craig in Nebraska, what can we do for you?
Hi, thanks for your program and your expertise. I've got a 65 Oldsmobile Cutlass 330. A friend of mine said it's got a Holley double pumper carburetor on it. And for probably about the last 10, 12 years, the car gets taken out of storage, driven a little bit, gas added back in, I suppose, to fill the tank back up, and probably some stable put in it. Our son has passed, and so now we're trying to decide what to do with the car. But when I got it out of storage and finally got it started, you'd think it was the dirtiest diesel in town. I still have some sooting. The carburetor float was too high. I've got that adjusted down, but it still wants to and finally kicks off to get it started. If I go ahead and siphon out that fuel and put some sort of cleaner in it, and then I don't know what kind of gas to put back in it for sure. As I drive it and I slow down, it'll still stall on me once in a while, and I got to get it restarted. So what can you guys tell me?
Well, what's happening is that when you store a car like that, you need to make sure the gas is 100% changed by driving it or siphoning it out and using it in something else and putting fresh gas in. Some people, they know they're only going to put 200 miles a year on a car, and they don't go through a whole tank or whatever, so they'll siphon that gas out. They'll burn it in their lawnmowers, their motorcycles, even in another car or truck, so they can put fresh gas in that at least once a year with a fuel stabilizer in the tank. But after time, when that hasn't completely happened, you'll get some older gas, gum and varnish will build up. The carburetor will be lined with that stuff, basically. We've had a number of classic cars come through our shop, and we do a number of things to them. First, we look at it and say, okay, is the inside of that tank not rusty? If it's not rusty, let's get the gas out of it and properly dispose of it. A lot of people with waste oil burners can put it in with 500 gallons of oil. Not a problem. We do that all the time in our own. Then we do the fresh gas in it. Then I look at the rubber line back by the fuel tank and up by the front on the engine. And if they're old and cracked or dried out, I replace that. It's usually 6 inches to a foot of line. It's 3/8 usually. It's pretty cheap, $20 and some clamps. So I get those on. So I've got that part of the fuel system good. And then typically I don't rebuild the carburetors because of the danger with all the chemicals and stuff we use and the expense of them and the problems that come with things in carburetors and the rust. We just buy a new one. And it sounds like a whole lot of money, but a lot of times they're anywhere from $200 to $500 for a good carburetor. Smaller the better on these engines. We're talking about 330. That's small. That's like a Holley 500. You just need a little tiny.
You might have too much carburetor on there right now.
The tiniest Holley 4-barrel you can get would be perfect for that. Or get a hold of Holley online, and they'll tell you what is recommended for that engine, and based on what's going on, and then it'll start.
And you could do that through like a Jegs or Summit or something like that too.
Any company, yeah. And then that should get you going again. And then battery wise on these things, we recommend to anybody with a classic car get an AGM battery They're far superior to a regular lead acid battery. They're not going to leak. They hold their charge much longer, so that, if you've got a battery maintainer on it all winter, this thing will probably last in that car for 10 years. And if you're selling the car to somebody and you say, look, I've got a new fuel system in here, the tank's clean, or if it's too bad, they sell new tanks that are like a couple $100 for a brand new tank. But you've got a clean or a new tank, you've got a carburetor that's new, you've got a new battery in it, you're good to go. It's ready to sell.
As quick as we can do it. This is a Berkeley Classic. I think that this car is like a reddish maroon. Chris?
I'm going a greenish, a green base.
Yellow.
What
Yellow.
color is it, Craig?
Well, originally I was going to specify kind of the seafoam green. But since it was from my parents, my dad changed it to saffron yellow.
Well, I think
we know that
I am out.
Shannon is a loser here.
Our buddy
That's
Wayne
it.
Womble, his car was maroon, and then it ended up yellow, and it was the green in between.
That's awesome.
Craig, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. 866-594-4150. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we want to hear from you. 866-594-4150. That's the number to reach us here at the Under the Hood Show. Let's talk to Bob. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Bob, what can we do for you?
I have a 3010 John Deere with a rear main oil leak. Not a big one. It puddles after a day or so. Tell me about additives to soften those seals up. Do you believe in them, or is it snake oil?
Well, the only additive that may help with that engine, because of the type of seal you've got in there, is going to be the Justice Brothers oil system stop leak, and that is made to soften up seals, whether it be the rope seal or the neoprene seal or any of the other types they have in there.
That's one that we've had experience with that we've seen work, and it either works
pretty much
or it doesn't.
Yeah, it's pretty much the only thing I've seen that works. And if the seal is too bad and actually if you were to take it out and you found that chunks were missing out of it, yeah, it's not going to do any good. Might actually make it worse because it's just bad. But your two choices are, this is either going to work or you're going to have to tear it down, which is a big proposition, as you know, and replace it and check the crank, make sure it doesn't have a groove in it or any end play that would be causing that. But yeah, I would say Justice Brothers oil stop leak is what we're going to use in there, and it takes to work a product like that. We're going by hours instead of miles, so I would say probably 5 to 10 hours of operating time for that to work. Now, it does work on an engine that's not running if you run it for a while. So if you operate this thing for 5 to 10 hours and then it's sitting and it sits for the next 6 months, it's going to continue to condition those seals because the oil is touching it. But sometimes it takes 10 hours to get the oil to work through that whole surface all the way back to the ground, through the spots.
Berkeley Classics does insure collector tractors, and this.
I'm going with green. I'm going green. Green.
You think?
No,
you guys can't pick that.
I got to ask him. I'm not a tractor collector. I got family members. My sister Yvette Vanderbrink and her husband are, and they love this stuff. But we had a 3010 on the farm growing up. Is this a narrow front or a wide front?
Narrow front.
Does it have a shift gate, or was it a like a shuttle shifter? What has it got?
It's just got the synchro.
Yeah,
synchro shift.
That's got to be the same like tractor that we had to learn how to drive and use.
I've tipped one tractor over in my life, and it was a narrow front tractor. Yeah. I would never drive one again.
Yeah, no,
I still have a fear of it. Yeah, I was is in the dirt down in Texas, and I turned it and I let out the clutch, and I was moving too fast. Probably not what I was supposed to be doing, but you're not supposed to turn that.
It was
fast.
like a 3-wheeler at that point.
Yeah, and it was. Yeah, that's something that gets you hurt.
Have you owned this tractor for a while?
Yeah, it's one I grew up with.
What year would that be?
1963.
Okay.
63.
Yeah, I would be curious what year ours was, but when you said 3010, I had to ask.
Bob, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. Do I get a point for that, right?
I was gonna go there right away. Let's do the Berkeley Classic, and then you were already jumping on it.
866-594-4150. Let's go to Mississippi and talk to Dexter. Dexter, you're on the Under the Hood show. What can we do for you?
Yes, I have a 2000 Silverado that's two-wheel drive, and I have a little bit of a looseness in the steering. And it started out like a couple of weeks ago where it had a small sound like maybe two pieces of plastic rubbing together. But a couple of days ago, I was sitting in the drive-thru at the bank, and when you could turn the steering wheel really slowly, and it almost sounded like there was a cog, like a missing cog in a gear. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Just a very small click, but that was the extent of it. One click, and then you could get the click going back the other way.
So you're in
where exactly?
You're in Mississippi. Is this a two-wheel drive truck or a four-wheel drive truck?
It's a two-wheel drive truck.
Is it? I'm just trying to think. In that year somewhere, they did a transition on the two-wheel drives where they had rack and pinions versus steering gears. Do you know if yours is a steering gearbox bolted to the frame, or if it's got a rack, or is that later, Russ, that they did that?
No, it has a rack because I replaced it about 3 years ago.
99 and up on that one.
Yeah, and regardless of that setup, I was just kind of curious what that was, because you do have a few other things to think about if it's a rack versus a gearbox. Most of the challenges in those were the intermediate shafts between the steering column and the gearbox.
That happens.
The rack and pinion.
That happens so often on those, and we put a ton of them on. Our partner at Dorman Products makes a steering shaft for that, and it's really affordable. It's really common to go bad. If you have someone sit in the driver's seat and turn that wheel the way that you hear him, you would normally turn it, and then you put your head on the floor and look up under the dash right above that brake pedal, you should be able to hear it and feel it if you touch that steering shaft as you turn it. It's going to be really minor. It's not like you're going to take it out and sometimes you can take them out and not even turn them in your hand. You go, well, this is working. But when you put the load on them and try to turn it, that's when you have the problem. The U-joint has a tiny bit of play in it, and also the shafts where it's got to slip part of the shaft together, and that'll start to get loose. And it's just a few thousandths, but it's enough that when you turn the wheel under the load, it pops as that U-joint rolls over. It clunk, clunk, like a cog missing out of there.
Yeah.
And it's really
That's
annoying.
exactly what it sounds like.
Yep. So if you can, I would say that's got to be what's going on, because there's nothing in the rack that would do that as long as it feels good turning back and forth. And the column itself, it's one solid piece from the wheel down. It's that intermediate shaft that Dorman Products has. That's the movable parts that wear.
I had a 2001 Silverado, and we would get a clunk that would just chatter a little bit, like on a washboard road or whatever, and that ended up being the intermediate shaft too. And at that time, GM was telling dealers to bring them in, lubricate the shaft. Basically, they were trying to get rid of some play that was in the shaft, and so that was interesting. That was their warranty fix back in the day. I remember for a noise that would come, just an irritating noise as you'd hit little bumps and stuff that would come from the steering column.
There was a lot of grease it up, get rid of noise fixes.
The grease is thick enough, it won't vibrate.
For a while, right? It just gets them down the road.
Dexter, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. I'm very uncomfortable trying to think about how to get in there, put my ear on the floor, and look up under the...
Are you afraid of a cramp?
Well, just the sill, trying to get over the sill on my ribs and how I'm going to get down there.
I'd say make sure you have a spotter, Chris, if you're going to try.
And then someone's going to be turning the wheel. Are they sitting in the seat? Am I worried about their feet, too?
I do it every day.
I know. It's making... I'm uncomfortable.
Get a spotter, Chris.
Thinking about it. We're going to get to the phones in just a second. Got a lot of calls coming in. But there was a... recall that you texted us about just earlier.
Yeah, this morning when I was doing my normal morning exercise routine, I usually check some news and stuff, and there was a big national news story that I know I'd seen percolating before, but it hit the press today as we're recording live today, that Tesla's got a recall on basically all their vehicles.
Virtually every car sold in the United States.
That's a first.
With their automated driving features, autonomous driving features. And the recalls are in response to a number of these. I think they've got 13 or 16 deaths accounted to people driving in the autonomous mode that have. The one they showed on that story was somebody where the car had just completely blasted into the back of a fire truck that was doing emergency work. They had another one that had hit the end of a bridge abutment of some sort, something that it didn't recognize, and it just plowed right into it. And I don't mean that like this system is pretty darn good.
Yeah.
Because they also talked in the story about the people that are putting their pride out there and driving down the road with the seat kicked back and their feet out the window and going 90 miles an hour, 95 miles an hour. And, that's kind of probably not what this was designed for. But anyway, the update, I heard that. I'm like, okay, this is kind of a big deal. But it's going to be a over-the-air update since Tesla has over-the-air programming on their cars. So
Chris, don't worry about bringing yours in.
So they'll not have to pay near as much as if a regular manufacturer had something like this come up and every car had to come to a dealership and get programming done. That is also why the manufacturers of most are trying to go to over-the-air programming on everything.
Yeah.
And so the features that will be added to these cars now will make them more warnings, more notifications, and a quicker disabling of the system if you're not paying attention. And so I think that's probably a step in the right direction as this technology continues to evolve. But the head of the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, they had to really make a point about this. And, Elon, love him or hate him, he's out there and he's taking on the establishment no matter what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
And they talked about how the head of the NHTSA at the time called Elon Musk directly to talk about this investigation. And while he talked to him, Elon hung up on him.
Oh,
they had to make a point about that in the story. Huh. And they said it's that kind of arrogance within that company that causes these problems with safety, we think.
I think that might have...
I wonder how many... So let's just say, if you get 16 people that die because of this system, I wonder how many people died because of like texting and driving or not paying attention. They're talking about that with autonomous cars in general.
Yeah.
Like,
it's crazy.
The number's not even close.
866-594-4150. Let's talk to Tyler. You're on the Under the Hood show. Tyler, what can we do for you?
Hey, guys. Love the show. Thanks for taking my call.
Thank you.
We got a 2005 Nissan Titan, and noticed a couple weeks up, middle of October, that I was leaking some differential fluid on the ground. Turned out to be the rear pinion seal. So got in there, got the pinion seal out, put the new one back in, got it all put back together and stuff. I did mark the location of the nut and the flange before I did it, figuring I'd save some trouble. And when I put the nut back on, I might have gotten a little bit over tight, but didn't think anything of it really. And then kind of drove it around town for a few weeks and no issues or anything like that. Yesterday, took it down the interstate at about 80, and then noticed that my slip and ABS light came on. Nothing really happened or anything like that. I'm just kind of wondering if that's a result of me getting that nut too tight, or if it's going to cause any issues down the road.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Why did you do that?
It's
Tyler?
a possibility.
You marked it. Why did you do that?
Well, that's probably not.
With the wear get when you start hammering them. So.
Yeah. Well, with the wear that the system has, the new setting with the new seal may not be exactly where the old one is, but that would be the best guess if you didn't want to get in there with your feelers and everything else to measure clearance.
Yeah, we've put on a number of them, and we've run into some things, and there's certain rear ends, Nissan, Toyota, there's a fine line in there, and they just, even little vibrations causing resonance in that rear end will trigger codes in that. You can get that scanner out, see what the code says, and if it's for that sensor in that rear end, that leaves two things. The rear end has either got a noise in it that you can't really hear or feel, and it's causing a resonance, tripping that sensor, or the sensor's bad.
Or there's already wear happening and there's material in there, but that's the least likely.
So
in worst case, right?
And it would be bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those things. It's tough. You don't want to think, oh, did I cause this? But it's better.
So, but what? Here, first thing he's got to do though, let's just get on to it. He's got to get a scanner out and find out where this problem's coming from.
Yeah,
and maybe he's going to find out he's got a sensor wire to the front.
Hopefully,
axle
it's a circuit code.
Yeah, or something like that.
That's completely unrelated. If it says sensor circuit, then we got a wire.
When I parked it, got to my destination, I parked it, turned off, and then turned it back on again, and the codes went away. And then I drove back home, went down the highway at about 65 or so, never came back on again. So I'm not. Maybe it's just once I get up to 80-mile-an-hour speed is when it trips.
Maybe that'll slow you down.
Well, and that assembly, just trying to think, is that a dropout rear center section where everything drops out the front, or is there an inspection cover on the back of your rear end?
There's an inspection cover on the back of the rear end, but it's got drain holes and a fill hole on it. So when I was losing a little bit of diff fluid in it while I was leaking, but I filled it back up with those ports when I was done with it. So, well, if you find that it's coming from the rear and this keeps popping back up again, before you drive it much further, get it to a gear shop that is specialized in, rear axles and transmissions and that sort of stuff, and let them set that up again. Let them get the backlash set and make sure that it's got the correct clearances on those gears. And maybe it's just such a thing that you're going to be okay yet. But don't delay on checking where that problem's coming from.
Tyler, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. 866-594-4150. Let's go to Oklahoma and talk to Steve. You're on the End of the Hood Show. Steve, what can we do for you?
Yes, sir. Thank you. I can tell you my bad experience if you like, but bottom line is I'm wondering if there's for an old classic, vehicle that sits around a lot, you don't use it much. I was wondering if there's a non-corrosive alternative to that DOT3 brake fluid, or if and where I could buy cups that would be, compatible to what I used was TRW mineral oil.
No, there's nothing that the brake fluid itself. Brake fluid's hydroscopic. It's going to absorb moisture, and when it does, that's when it becomes corrosive. If it's sealed and everything's closed, it won't corrode anything. There'll be rust, nothing, because there's no moisture in it, and it's by itself. It's not corrosive. But as years go by and it gets old, it becomes acidic as metals start bonding with it that deteriorate off the master cylinder and the wheel cylinders and the lines and things. Then it becomes corrosive. So if the system is properly maintained, it's flushed, and an old one like that, it's going to start breaking down at an exponential rate. So you're going to have to flush that thing. And you might have to flush it every spring, or at least every couple years. Probably with an older one like that that's not probably 100% sealed, it might be, it's cheap, one bottle, and flush that thing out every year to prevent that thing from doing that. I've seen a lot of people with classic cars have to do that.
And is it that simple? Just drain it and
you add more fluid to the cylinder. What we do is we get a suction gun and we suck all the fluid out of the master cylinder. And then before we touch the brake pedal, we fill it back up with brand new fluid. We open the valves at the wheels and we bleed it out. A lot of times it'll just gravity bleed. It'll run down on its own out the wheels till it's clean, and we close it.
Steve, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. 866-594-4150. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we want to hear from you on the Under the Hood Show.
Out how you can participate in the show by visiting underthehoodshow.com.
866-594-4150. That's the number to reach us here at the End of the Hood Show. Let's talk to Brad. You're on the End of the Hood Show. Brad, what can we do for you?
How are you doing today, guys?
Good.
I've got a 2003 Pontiac Grand Am. I bought the car from my sister-in-law with a blown-up transmission. I put a new transmission in, and now I'm having trouble with the heater. I do not have heat at an idle. I've backflushed the heater core. I've put a new thermostat in it. I took the water pump apart and looked at it. I took it to a shop that seemed to act like they knew what they were doing. Still no luck.
Are you generating heat is the engine temperature with a gun generating heat in the coolant anywhere?
Yes. You know how it's got the V6 in it. It's got that return water line that runs across the front of the engine. At an idle, you can grab that thing, and it is plumb cold. You reach up and you grab the throttle and you bump it up to even 1,000 RPM, and instantly that thing is so hot you cannot hang on to it.
Well, you've got a new water pump in here, you said?
No, I took the water pump off and inspected it, and it looks like brand new in it. I did put a
Okay.
new thermostat in it.
That's
and the heater. Go ahead.
That's a coolant flow issue, and it's typically if it's that low where you just give it a little bit. Does this thing have heat inside when you give it a little gas like that?
Yes.
Okay. Well, there's two things that might be going on. Either the water pump is worn, but you said it's not, and that loses flow.
Well, it looks like new, and I thought about replacing the water pump because it's like $23 or something at the local parts store.
Well, and look at it as well, too, because they may have upgraded the design. It might be different than the design you have, because as the engines wear and get older, things change, flow can change. You may consider just changing that to get a little more flow out of it to fix that. But also, whether that tube is hot or not doesn't matter as much as if the heater core is getting as much flow as it needs. So what you could try, the heater core itself is not that expensive. The labor putting it in is time is expensive, or somebody else's time. There is a case where, in the worst case, where I wondered, is this heater core bad or not? And we couldn't completely access it. I got another heater core and I hooked the lines up to it under the hood, and I started the car up and I let it idle. And then I took my temp gun and verified that this heater core was hot. You couldn't hold on to it, and every inch of it was completely hot. That told me the flow was just fine, but inside the car, I just had one little narrow passage of coolant going through it, so I could back flush it all day long, and coolant's going to flow through it, or my garden hose is going to blow through it. But most of the fins were plugged up, so it only had heat around one little edge with one little strip running through. But the new heater core was good and hot. So at that point, I took the dash apart and did it. But that was after I exhausted all my other checks and knew that, like, hey, I got a heater core that's bad.
You should be dropping temperature between inlet and outlet too, correct?
Well, you will. If the heat is on high inside, you're going to have a drop. And if it's working efficiently, it should be about 50 degrees.
If you stick your hand down there and you grab the heater hoses going in to the heater core, the inlet and the outlet, you know, they're warm. The inlet is warmer than the outlet, but when you crack the throttle, then the outlet warms up.
And if that outlet warms up and you've got the heater on high inside, you've got to actually use a temp probe to see what it is, but it should really be dropping as it's carrying heat away. It sounds to me like it's your heater core that's plugged up, and part of it, there's flow through it, but it's not flowing through every fin, warming up every square inch of that core like it needs to, because if it was, even at a very low flow rate, you'd get some heat out of it at idle. You always get more heat going down the road than you do at idle, but you should get enough flow that you can really warm up the car good at idle.
And you're not building any pressure in the system or anything weird like that?
No.
Yeah, I'll bet the heater core, we've put a number of heater cores in those old cars, and we've also flushed out a bunch of them that has taken care of it. When you flush them too, we have to use a powered flusher that's got air and water going through it that really
kind of cavitates in there when it does it?
Yeah, it shakes it back and forth, and it's just like what happens when you turn the water off in your house, and you turn it back on, and then when you open the faucet, you get this giant blast of air coming out of it, and that's really powerful compared to the little drip of water you normally get with these low flow, you know.
Brad, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. 866-594-4150. Let's talk to Pete. You're on the End of the Hood Show. Pete, what can we do for you?
Hey, good morning. My question is going to be about a 09 F-150 pickup with a 4.6 and an AOD transmission. I was listening to one of your previous shows, and you were talking about transmissions having a shudder and how on the newer ones there was a chip in the transmission that could be adjusted to take it out. Now, my pickup is high mileage, 258,000 miles, and when it's pulling, like if I got a trailer behind it, or sometimes when it's shifting, I'm starting to get a little shudder in the transmission. My question is there something I can do to extend the life of that transmission? Is there an additive, or can I take it to someone and do something before the transmission does go bad?
How many miles again are on this thing?
258,000.
258.
Pete gets the award today for best setup of the question.
Yeah, he did
Do you have
great.
Do you have any further questions about his vehicle?
And he said the question I'm going to ask.
He said, "This is the vehicle I'm talking about."
Yeah, I think he's given us enough information here.
I think so too.
250 is the
Wow,
limit.
what's my award, guys?
A new transmission.
Yeah.
250.
I'll be right
250. Yeah, 250 is, we can do it, but 250 is about the limit on those transmissions. I rarely see one come into the shop to be replaced that has much more than about 220 on it.
What is
you're getting up
what's
there.
the fluid look like when you inspect it?
It's clean. It looks okay. It doesn't look burnt. It doesn't smell bad. It doesn't look burnt. But I'm just dealing with a wore-out transmission, obviously.
Well,
It could be just in the torque converter. It could be in that sort of stuff.
Yeah, and it could, if torque converters fail, we've had a number of those fail on them and then take more things out. But you could also have solenoids that are not operating like they should. They're getting weak from a lot of operation, a lot of age. Could be gum and varnish on the valves inside. So if you pulled the pan on that thing and looked at the filter and looked at the pan, if there's a lot of material in there, it tells me you've got a lot of clutch wear. But if there's really not much clutch wear because it's all highway miles, it's possible you could get it to last longer with a cleaning of that valve body and maybe even some solenoids in it. It would have to be something to know for sure. We would have to do a pressure test on the different circuits of the transmission and find out where you're losing fluid. What's going on there? Does it have full application force in every clutch, or is it slipping because we're not getting the valve to move and getting it fully pressurized in that gear when it goes into gear? If I pull the pan though and I look and I see that there's a half a pan full of clutch material, it's over. That's when I don't dump the pan out. I just lift it back on right the way I took it off. I put the bolts back in, wipe it off.
And say, let it work the way it is for as long as it can.
Yep.
So is that where Pete's at? Just drive it.
That's exactly what I needed to know. So there's no miracle cure.
You could try the Justice Brothers transmission additive and put it in there with your fluid and see if there was something hanging up. If that fluid would help, if that additive would help loosen some things up, and see if it make it any better or not. And if it does, and you find that it gets better, that's even more encouragement to say, let's bring it in and drop the pan and take a look at it. And if you don't, like Russ said, if you don't see stuff in there and it seems like it's not stinky and burned up, flush with a good cleaner, and you're probably a good candidate at that point. Do you know when the last time this thing had a transmission flush?
I do not. I think it would have been probably at 150,000. If I'm kind of guessing, but a long time ago.
How big of a trailer do you pull with this?
Enclosed trailer, 14-footer tandem.
Nothing huge then, but they can buck a lot of wind, and
that's enough for that many miles. It's had a good life.
Pete, thanks very much for the call.
I think it's going to keep going. I got a hunch.
You got a
get
hunch?
Another $50,000 out of it.
All
Another
right.
$50,000 out of it.
Let us know, Pete, with that detail.
Yeah.
You can just call back and just start every call. We'd be perfect. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we want to hear from you on the Under the Hood Show.
Car feeling ill? Don't want to spread it to your wallet? Call the Motor Medics now for free advice.
866-594-4150. That's the number to reach us here at the Under the Hood Show. If you subscribe to our YouTube channel and join the Hoodie Fan Club at our website, underthehoodshow.com, you could win a hoodie.
Like Deborah Bartles, congratulations from our friends over at Universal Technical Institute, UTI.edu. Let's be a mechanic.
And they're
a technician.
Mostly southern United States, so you can, if you're cold
They
right
like
now.
it out of the snow. They like it where they can work on cars outside year round.
Yeah.
It's best for training people that way.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can get up into the north if you need to do some snow testing, but yeah, for the most part, it's going to be
International
a warmer
Falls.
climate.
That's where Die Hard used to test their batteries. I remember that from the commercials.
Yeah. Then the battery on the shoulder. Was that Die Hard? No. That was Everready. No?
Yeah.
Who had the battery on the shoulder?
Rayovac.
Was it?
It wasn't Rayovac. That's not
No.
a tough enough name.
Is it what it Rayovac?
And it was the guy
I
from
dare you
Baba
to
Black
knock this
Sheep.
battery off my.
Who's the guy?
You guys don't look for me for references. Mine are always vague and never accurate.
Chris will look that up on the break. He's going to be like, what was that? I dare you to knock this battery off my shoulder.
Ready.
I just remember it was
you
the
go
guy
to
from
YouTube,
Baba
type
Black
that
Sheep.
in. You'll see the battery. I thought it was, it's either Ever Ready or Rayovac. It's got to be one of the two.
866-594-4150.
Yeah, that International Falls commercial, they were like, and the car's got like a layer of like it's been in a glacier.
Sure.
The Die Hard ones?
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah.
That was 70s, wasn't it?
Sure.
Early 80s?
Oh, I'm guessing that for us to have seen it and remember it in that fashion,
Right.
it had to be in our youth.
We were probably watching an old, episode of
Why were
BJ and the Bear or
You
something.
were probably amazed by it, and we were going, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I would. Looks like here.
Why do people live there?
Right. And we kind of live there.
We're close.
Let's go to Massachusetts and talk to John. You're on the End of the Hood Show. John, what can we do for you? Oh, I have to. Hold on. I have to click the button. John, that's not you. That's me. John, you're on the End of the Hood Show. What can we do for you?
I've got a just purchased new a 2023 RAV4 hybrid, and it's got 5,000 miles on it right now. And I called to get the oil change, and they're insisting that the oil change intervals on that are 10,000 miles between oil change. And I've really got a problem with that. What are your thoughts?
Don't you change that first oil before 10,000. Or you're likely.
That's why they're probably pushing hard on
Yeah.
this first one.
This first one, because you're likely to have a problem with oil burning if you do. That vehicle is equipped from the factory with an oil that is made to go that 10,000 miles to properly break in that engine. The pistons, the rings, valves, everything needs to wear into a certain rate. After that, I'm not going with their 10,000 miles. I think they're crazy. That's too long.
Yeah.
Maybe 5 or 6 with a good quality oil, whatever they're recommending for oil in it. I can't remember if that one's fully synthetic or not. It may be, but yeah.
Yeah, and another question I had about the oil was it's full synthetic, but it's a 0.16.
Yeah. 0.16 is very common. I've got that on my shelf at the shop. It's for some of the newer Hondas and Toyotas and stuff. It's what's coming out. You're going to start seeing.
Yeah.
You'll start seeing some 0.0 oils coming out here. They get lighter and lighter for emissions. As long as they make the bearings better in the engine, they're made for that. They'll hold up. The clearances will get tighter. And
we often say that these highly engineered engines are engineered knowing they can use a highly engineered oil.
Yep.
And that's the trap people get into, is because those highly engineered oils have a higher price tag on them. And so a person needs to make sure you don't get tempted to try something else.
It's kind of interesting that used to be a sticking point for some models, Volkswagen.
Yep.
And now they're all there. Volkswagen was ahead on that, kind of.
So oil serves a few purposes. It lubricates to prevent wear. So if you had really good parts, you could maybe design an engine that would last 200,000 miles without oil because of the wear. But it also serves to flush away contaminants such as wasted fuel that's not completely burned, getting by the piston rings into the crankcase. How do you cope with that? Well, maybe a cleaner fuel with a higher octane. Where would we get that? And a better sealing system. Instead of 3 piston rings in there, maybe we do 6 or 8. Who knows? I mean, we do something different to seal that up tighter in the bottom end. Then maybe that makes the top end of the engine last longer. Those are a couple things that oil does in there. So really, and it's also a hydraulic system. It runs the valve lifters and things like that. But if you went to a 48 volt system with a battery, which they've tried, Ford has experimented with a lot of their engines doing that they're not publicly selling yet. And then electric valves to open those, so you don't need the hydraulics. You don't have a timing chain now because you have electric valves. There's nothing on the front of the engine. The crankshaft's just spinning away with a sensor, and that's it. The computer controls it. You can get rid of oil. And how would you like that, Chris, if you've never had to change oil? Because the car recommended that. Don't change it.
What I do now.
There you go.
Right.
Without a recommendation.
I change it. There you go. I should make you change it next time.
No. John, thanks very much for the call. Does that help you out?
Okay. Yes, sir. Actually, one quick question about that 2.5 Toyota motor. Does that have a timing chain or a belt in it?
Chain.
Chain? Okay.
Yep.
There you go. That means you don't change it until, if you do, it's going to be a bad one.
They reading a recent story, and I see that's a new hybrid vehicle, but the hybrids are still way outpacing the electric vehicle sales right now.
Yeah, for sure.
Ford just announced they're cutting their production of the new Lightning truck in half.
They're cutting the production, but the sales numbers are going up, which is interesting.
Well, they've got a lot on the.
They have a lot of surplus,
a lot of inventory.
but it's interesting to see that their sales they're very slowly increasing, but they're not getting there now. You remember they killed the Impala because those sales numbers had dropped, and those numbers were not near as low as what the Lightning's selling for.
I think they sold 20,000 Lightnings last year. That seems like not enough for an F-150 of any sort.
And when they got to, what was it, 100,000 on the Impala, they said, that's too low. We got to kill it.
Yeah.
Good luck, John. Thanks very much for the call. 866-594-4150. Let's talk to Dale. You're on the End of the Hood Show. Dale, what can we do for you?
Yeah, I've got an old Chevy pickup, 2003. It's, just the Z71 or whatever they call it, half-ton four-wheel. And I've had this problem a couple other times and had it replaced, and I don't remember now what the heck it is, but when you first start it up in the dash, like behind the speedometer and stuff, it makes a click, 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 really loud smack sound 3 or 4 times, and then it's done. But it runs and everything.
Yeah, it sounds like it's a noise coming from your actuators on your HVAC system up under the dash, that you have electronic actuators for blend and you have electronic actuators for the position, and it's most likely that actuator that has stripped, or the motor itself is hitting its position and clicking back and forth on the stop because of a problem with that actuator, most likely.
Do you have the auto temp control with both left and right temperature, or does it just have the one temp? It does have left and right?
It's got the dual.
Well, here's how you find which one it is. You put it in the manual mode, not auto, and turn the fan down low, and then I start with the temp mode, and I turn the driver's side one all the way to cold, wait a few seconds, turn it all the way to hot, wait a few seconds. And if there's no click, then I move to the passenger heat, all the way to hot, all the way to cold, wait a few seconds in each position, and turn it fairly slowly, like give it like a 5-second turn from hot to cold. And no click there, then hit the recirculation button and wait about 5 seconds, then hit it again and wait. And if it clicks at one end or the other, click, 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 and then you hit it again, it stops. That's the part that's bad. So either one of the hot ones or the hot cold or your recirculation. But if it's on the driver's side and it's clicking right behind the instrument cluster area, I'll bet it's probably the mode one, which is face to foot to floor. So click that and see what you get. If it's a recirculation door motor, it'll usually click when you just open the door to get it in before you even put the key in, because it opens the vent from recirculate to outside air so that you don't have the air pressure change when you close it. But yeah, check that out. And if you need one of those pieces, yeah, they're going to be readily available. Dorman Products, our partner, has those. So something you could pick up and you'll be able to get that put in yourself. It's something that all of the motors in that, the recirculation door is the hardest, but you can change all of them yourself pretty easily.
Dale, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. The vent pops open when you open the door, so the air pressure doesn't affect you when you slam the door shut?
Yeah, so for people out there that, if you've ever heard it, Chris, I don't know if you've had one we had to repair, but when you open the door and your key is off, your Prius, you walk up and zzz, everything lights up. As you're walking up, it's opening that recirculation door motor to the outside. You get in the car, you close the door. If you closed everything up, you'd be like, oh, it's air pressure in my ears. So it opens that up. There's some vents in the doors that open as well, but it's going to open that. So it also brings in fresh air because we don't want to fog the car instantly when it starts up.
Sometimes cars amaze me.
Yeah,
Often.
they do
More
a lot
than you
of.
realize is going on.
20-year-old cars. Okay, question. An 03, he called it an old truck. Is an 03 an old truck?
20 years old.
Is it an old truck? Would
Yes.
you say, I have an old truck, it's an 03?
I still think, no, they got a lot of life.
I'd have to see it.
That's what I was thinking. It could be either on that.
I'm thinking 80s is old truck to me. If it's in the mid 90s, like I say old trucks all the time when I'm referring to guys with 94 and 95s at our shop, but when they get up to be 98, 99, I'm like, it's just a
I
truck.
think it's time to change it. I think we got to move to another decade.
It's ongoing. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we want to hear from you. 866-594-4150. You're listening to the Under the Hood Show.
Get your planner out right now and schedule your next radio appointment with the Motor Medics.
866-594-4150. That's the number to reach us here at the Under the Hood Show. Let's talk to Don now. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Don, what can we do for you?
Hey, thanks for taking my call.
You
I've
bet.
Been a regular listener to your podcast, and I always learn something. So it's a good show.
Thank you.
Hey, I've got a 2009 Honda Fit, and I've only got about 70,000 miles on it. And even though the spark plug change interval is about 100,000 miles or so, I still am kind of old school, and I do check them at 30,000, 60,000. I'd replace them at 60,000. But I've been noticing that they get a little loose. The number 1, number 4 especially. So like every 500 miles or so, I go and tighten them back up again. And I read online that Honda Fit engines, 2009 to 2013, have this bad habit of ejecting spark plugs. They come loose, and then they get to a point where they're, halfway in, and it just blows them out and tears all the threads out of the head. And so I have a service manual, and it says to torque the plugs to 13 foot-pounds.
Mm-hmm.
And then I looked at a newer version of the repair manual, and it says 20 foot-pounds. So, and one of them said a little dab with anti-seize, one of them did not. The plugs were made by NGK. NGK says no anti-seize. So I was hoping you could help me understand, where should I go with this? I don't want to see the car ruined, but I want to do the thing right.
Well, we recommend NGK, and they're a partner of ours. We use those in a lot of vehicles, and they're standard equipment in just a ton of cars on the road today. Those spark plugs, they update them as they go along. That's part of their R&D department. They look and say, okay, this car has a habit of doing this, so let's design the threads a little better on here. Let's change the tolerances to make everything a little tighter, and then update those torque specs. And I think you're going to find that if you put the new NGK plug in it, you follow the new torque spec, but you retorque them, put them in there, run them like 100 miles, retorque them, run them another 100 miles and retorque them. Then you're going to find that the plug will probably stay put. The retorque is important, just like putting a wheel back on a tire after you do a brake, or on a car after you do a brake job. You got to drive it for a few miles and retorque it. If you don't, it will come loose. But when you retorque those, it should work for you when you do that. We've run into this a couple times with these fits, and we've told customers with engines that are similar to these when we put them in our shop, hey, we need to retorque these spark plugs at your first oil change. It's important you bring this back in, or we're going to have a warranty issue. You need to bring it back to us. It's part of your job. You need to take care of it by doing this.
Hey, Russ, I've never thought about this before too much, but, we used to pull plugs all the time and put them back in when we were racing. But is there anything that happens with the seal ring or the compression ring after you've used a plug once and then put it back in? With a new one, do you get a different torque cushion at all?
That's the thing. If you've got a sealing ring, you will have to retorque it to get it to completely compress. But a lot of these plugs don't use a sealing ring at all anymore. They use a beveled cone.
Okay, that makes sense. I've seen that too. I just was thinking of my old days with the
important to retorque it.
Don, thanks very much for the call. Hope that helps. 866-594-4150. Let's talk to Brad. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Brad, what can we do for you?
Yes, good morning.
Hey.
Say, my question was, I have a 2010 Subaru Forester with a 2.5 dual overhead cam turbo engine in it, and that engine has been determined to be bad. That valves went bad and filings in the oil and all kinds of things. But my question relates to what years and what other engines are compatible with what I have, and how do I know that things are going to swap from one to the other?
Well, what you need to do is decide when you buy an engine, contact a certified auto recycler. You can go on car-part.com. You can call an auto recycler like us here at Nordstrom's, and you ask the counter person, I need an engine for this. What do you have available? And then you can also ask them, what does your interchange show for years? And they'll say, well, it looks like 2010 is by itself, or this fits 2008 to 2010 or 2010 to 2012. They will know exactly by our Hollander interchange what fits. And it also is very accurate. It will say, because they're selling millions of engines over decades. So they update this. Even now, we're updating stuff from 15, 20 years ago. If we find some way that we can put a part on from another engine and make your engine work. So if you have, let's say the interchange has A through E, and you have an A engine because it's a 2010. Well, maybe a 28 is an E engine and you have an A, and it'll say E fits by switching oil pan. E fits by switching injectors and intake manifold or exhaust manifold. So you'll know what will fit. But in a lot of cases, if you get an exact engine, like an A for A or an E or a D for D, it's 100% the same. So even if you put a 2008 engine in your 2010 car, all the parts will interchange 100%. Nobody would ever know that there was anything different in there because it's exactly the same part. They've just made it longer, kind of like a Dodge Challenger.
Another thing that a person will do, too, and we do this also, that Hollander interchange is pretty good. It serves the industry very, very well. They're a great system. We've worked with them for years. But there are times where the way they write it restricts what fits also. And so people that are creative and want to do a little more work, like I said, they can find things that, oh, yeah, I just got to put this adapter on there. But
YouTube.
if you go to the internet or look up the factory reman and find out what years use the same part number for the long block. Because when they sell you a reman engine or a new engine, you don't get all the stuff on it usually. You're going to get just the block and heads.
Moral fit.
And then you can look and see, all right, what is the block and heads fit? And then you can decide, right, if this is right, then I should be able to switch all this other stuff. But if you've had material go through your oil with, you get nervous about if those turbos are oil fed, which they surely are, and you've got a lot of stuff that's went through that you got to be concerned about. Does that help you with that question you were asking?
Yeah, it does. I've located a 2012, and Subaru dealers have told me that those blocks are the same part number. So I guess, maybe another part of the question would be, should I try to buy more of a complete engine or just stick with the long block and put my parts back on it?
Well, with the age and the turbos, if you can find a complete one that comes with turbos and they're guaranteed as part of the package, or if you pay, buy the engine and then buy the turbos separate to get the mileage lower on them, I would do that. That's the way we like to do them.
And one housekeeping helper for people buying a used engine, always get a VIN number. Always get a VIN number. And you can nowadays also check that VIN number yourself, run a Carfax, and confirm. There's 95% really good people in our industry.
That's a good point. I wouldn't have thought of that in buying.
And there's 5% that I don't like because they misrepresent things. They're brokering things and misrepresenting them, try to get a sale. And so make sure to see the source vehicle. Everybody nowadays, I hate using the term everybody, but you can get pictures and buy an engine that came out of a wreck. If you look at the car and it's not wrecked, then there better be explainable to say, hey, this had some low water in it and they totaled it and it was a scrap title only or whatever it might happen to be. Or else it was a newer vehicle that had some sort of damage that the manufacturer just said, nope, we're going to part this out. But vehicles typically that are driven to an accident, if the accident doesn't hurt the part, which it typically doesn't unless it's a very hard front-end collision, that's what I want. And I would, in your case with multiple turbos, those little Subaru engines, I really don't like selling them because they're so finicky. Like the WRXs and any of those
get
types
a low
of car.
mile complete.
Yeah, and you're going to pay for it because the industry demands, when we're buying them at auction, everybody's bidding against each other, and
popular car.
They get run up pretty high, but that's some good advice if you're out buying.
Brad, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. 866-594-4150. Let's go to Virginia. Talk to Jim. You're on the End of the Hood Show. Jim, what can we do for you? Oh, try again, Jim. Sorry about that. Start over.
That's all right. That's all right. Well, I have a 2000 Ford Taurus, 3-liter, and it's a problem that I had the check engine light come on, and when you pull up to a stop sign, it sits there and surges at idle from 3,000 or 4,000 back and forth, and eventually it'll die. Sometimes you'll drive up there and it may idle for 2 or 3 minutes. It's perfect, but it actually surges and dies most times. So we went to a local parts house, and he started off with some parts, and he said put a EGR control valve on. We did. It didn't do anything. They took carburetor clean, went over the whole motor trying to find a vacuum leak, and didn't find anything. So then they had me put a PCV valve on it, and then they had me put a fuel filter. And the last time they had me put on was an idle control motor, and it does the same thing it always done. Any ideas? And I thank you for taking my call.
You bet. I would look real close at that mass airflow sensor and the tube that runs between the engine and the mass airflow sensor. If there are any leaks in that tube, or if that sensor is dirty or failing, it will definitely cause a surge. We've had a lot of them surge because of that. Even a dirty air filter will cause them to surge. That airflow in there, that is the main control to that engine to tell it how much fuel to deliver. And if it says, oh, the engine's revving up, look at this curve going up, we've got a great pattern, let's give it more fuel, and then all of a sudden it goes away. It says, oh, take that fuel away because we're not seeing that flow anymore. The airflow's gone, so they must have let off the throttle. Something's not right. So look at that real close. What you might try is just get the back end of a screwdriver and lightly tap on that mass airflow sensor up there by the air intake. And if it dies when you do that, that sensor is 100%. That thing's bad. So check that. Give it a little tap and see what it does.
Jim, thanks very much for the call. Welcome to the End of the Hood Show after show.
There we go. That was 20 calls in the can.
That's pretty good.
They just kept rock, boom, boom, boom down the road.
You, if you on the last segment there, you anticipated a problem that we will have on this show very soon. You said whether that car is or that motor is a 2010 or a 28. It could be the same part. And I thought that'll be a problem in 5 years.
Oh, a 28?
Yeah, because like if you
in 2008.
Right. Like in the past.
Did I drop an O out of there? A 28.
No. Yeah. You just and it makes sense because it's a if you said 19.8, we'd get it. But
we're going to be talking about 28 cars before you know it.
And then the next call actually made that apparent because he had a 2000
That last
Ford
call, he was
Taurus.
very proper on the way he said that.
Yep.
I'm
and
glad
that
he
was
did.
when you said the 28. I thought, oh yeah, back in the day we used to get a call for a 20 Ford.
No, Jim did it great. He
Yeah.
said 2000 model Ford
You know,
Taurus.
we'll start seeing the 25s in just another 30 days here. The 25 model is always at the beginning
coming out,
of the
yeah.
next year. That as 24 rolls in, they'll be like, the new 25 Silverado. I dare you to knock it off my shoulder.
It was ever ready.
Was ever ready, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. So what is the future of cars, Chris? What do you think?
Oh boy.
I mean, philosophize.
Are we really going this deep right now?
No, serious. We're thinking, what is the future of cars? Because it has changed so much. Electrics were shoved at us. Now there's a pullback. Hydrogen was coming. And then, well, is it or not? Flying cars, are they coming? Are they not? Well, guess what? They're here. The production ones that can be bought. So many things have changed. Is fuel going to stay the same? Is fuel not going to stay the same? I think there's some big players that have come in. There's so many things have lined up during 2023 because here we are. We're going to be almost out of show for 2023. Christmas is coming, folks. New Year's is the week after. So as we go through this, I'm thinking with all the things that lined up in 2023 and changes coming for 2024, it's a crapshoot. I'm not exactly sure, but we are in a position that anything could go with cars. If we change fuel and go with a more homegrown, sustainable type fuel, we can get more octane. More octane means more miles per gallon, less demand for an electric car. It's funny how many people were so far against the alternative fuels for cars until electrics came.
And then when they compared it to electric, like,
and they're like, you know what? I think I can put a few more drops of that other stuff in my car to not have an electric. But wait, I get more miles per gallon and more performance? Well, that's even better. I can get 35 miles per gallon out of a brand new Suburban by doing that if they would go to the high octane. Yeah. Well, that could be okay. And then there's people who are saying, well, we'll do the electric and we'll do it a different way. And you got sustainability with all that. Now, of course, the pollution that comes with mining and, all that stuff that's involved with that. And then you got the hydrogen. Boy, Toyota and his hydrogen converting these things to run on hydrogen with a piston engine. That's kind of neat the way that's something to think about too. And now these electronics, the autonomy that's coming to cars. We have states. Our states is changing its laws for autonomous vehicles to allow them to work on the road. We actually just met with a long-time listener last week, and we were talking about one of his jobs. That's what he does. He learns about autonomous vehicles, and it's funny. You hear, Chris, you're thinking, what do you think about autonomous cars, Chris? Are they everywhere? Or is it something you see in everyday life here around town? Can you call a taxi and have one come to your house and pick one up?
Not yet.
I bet you within 5 years you can. Other states, you get down to Arizona, we're just saying it's common. I think they made the comment, somebody said, the cars can't do that. It's like, let me get somebody on the phone, and they called their sister or something on the phone and said, can you call a taxi to pick you up?
They were riding in a Waymo.
Yeah, I was like, are you crazy? Yeah, that's.
I hope I can get in one this trip down there. I got to leave here in just a little bit, and I hope I get in one.
Here's what I think. I think that we could have had this exact conversation 5 years ago. That autonomous cars would be here in 5 years, and at the time, it was
fiction.
It was it was possible. It was totally
possible, but it was more of a fiction. It was just a dream.
No, but they are. I mean, Waymo has been operating in Phoenix area for
I was
a while.
In one in 2014 in Vegas.
So
with a driver too.
But the market just drives it. I mean, if 5 years ago we could have said autonomous cars will be here in 5 years, and if they had caught on, if people had, it would be here. But now it's totally plausible that 5 years from now we could be, except autonomous cars they're not capturing any imagination. No one's mad at autonomous cars. No one is in love with autonomous cars. Now we're talking about EVs. So now that's where all the focus is. And I think that's just how it goes.
So, my grandkids are totally fine with other people driving them around. I think as the generations change, a lot more people will be for it. Just like when we were kids, everybody played outside. Nobody wanted to be inside. It was a rainy day that you got that game console out and you're playing the old Atari or something. Mm-hmm. If it wasn't raining, even when it was raining, we were playing football in the rain. That was great. Sloshing around and, bouncing off the ground.
I think you'll see a change.
Now it's inside in the keyboards.
I think you're going to see a change in that. There is a movement you can kind of feel. There again, national news stories. There's company. I know the company's trying to make some money too, but they're going around to schools and they're offering these bags basically where you lock your phone up at the beginning of the day, and they're catching traction on the East Coast where you're in a complete no phone zone for that part of your day because they're realizing the impact during COVID on emotional and psychological damage caused with kids that went to complete full-on phone because they weren't in school.
Mm-hmm.
It has made a huge difference for me. Chris ignored. He told me for a decade, just turn your notifications off. Turn them off. Most of them are off. I pretty much turn everything. It's like, I get to my phone every few hours and I take a look. I used to do it every few minutes just to make sure that, I got to get that. It's important. I'm like, you know what? If it's important, they'll wait.
You want to hear?
I get to it today and it just makes you feel better.
You want to hear me take a swerve on all the stuff we always talk about? what do I always say? It'll be fine. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
In this case, getting the phones away and I think it's too late.
It might be.
I think it's over. I think we're going to be.
It might be too late. We've drank the Kool-Aid.
Yeah, I think we're too dependent on it, and there's just no way around it.
Well, they're building so many things that we do that require the use of it. I remember watching 60 Minutes or something.
It's going in your head.
10 years ago or 15 years ago, and Nokia had their phone, and somebody was going up to a vending machine, and they were, and everybody's like, "Oh my gosh!" You know,
I remember the first,
and it was
text.
like, now it's like, Apple Pay. Yep. You know, it just, you don't even think about it.
Yeah.
This stuff's easy. It makes it easy to buy and easy to get in trouble.
I don't even use my phone anymore.
I
use my watch.
Yeah.
You know?
I can open our newest car with my watch. Just walk up to it and
I was somewhere the other day where I was too close. Like they were trying to do it and my watch kept jumping in and ending the transaction by paying for it while they were putting stuff in. And I was just sitting too close. I was writing and I was too close to the thing because I wanted to, I was paying cash, but my watch kept blinking and they'd had to cap. And then that was the first time I've paid cash in a while. And now I'm done with that.
You know, you talk about writing, one of the simplest things. I felt kind of sad because I wrote Christmas cards out last week to all my grandchildren with my pen. Guess what the problem is? They can't read them.
Did you use
because it was
cursive?
in handwriting?
Yep. And I write horribly. Once I start writing, I've had so much problems with my hands over working for the years. I can't.
It gets worse as you go?
Yes. I can write like 2 words and then you can barely read. So I was very careful, painstaking.
I had the same thing happen, but I think mine's more out of concentration and boredom of doing it.
Yeah, and then I got a death grip on the pen.
You gotta.
The pen is.
Well, and I'm left-handed,
I have a
which
hint.
makes it
That's
worse.
hu- yeah,
that
that's
makes
huge.
it worse.
That's
So
ruined my life.
I wrote them all, and they're like, "Oh, they can't read that." It's like, my kids are not illiterate.
Try going
What are you
to
talking about?
fourth
They're
year old
They
with
don't
a-
teach that.
Hey, back to the question, because I do have to record some stuff
The
and get
future
going
of the
here.
cars.
I'm being selfish. But the car, I think the movement we've seen in the last little bit here with the electric stuff kind of slowing down, people kind of checking their temperature to say, all right, this we got some challenge. The challenges are real. Can we start screaming it out loud? I think you're going to see the internal combustion engine around for a long time. I think longer than people thought. It's going to be way more hybrids. The automation is going to just make our head spin that they're going to come up with, the things that they can do to connect us to the vehicle and to our life. I think that's going to continue. When we sat with a gentleman just the other day that's a hoodie that has sat on an autonomous vehicle council, this stuff is real. They're making it.
Even converting old ones to run autonomously.
They're planning ahead to get ready for it. It's coming. The semis, it's going to be there. This stuff's going to happen, and it's going to be first in the functional areas that are going to make a big difference, and then it eventually it'll work to our leisurely lives.
I had a conversation the other day with a gentleman who said we were talking about advancements in autonomous, and he's not for it. I mean, he likes his adaptive cruise control, but he is not for autonomous cars. And I didn't say anything, but I thought that's it. That's how it. Of course, that's how it goes.
Can I end my comments with this?
Yes.
When we talked to this gentleman that had been involved and been to a lot of these meetings, the one that just kind of made me think, I never thought of that. And that just tells me there's so many other things that we've never thought of. Autonomous semi still does something wrong, or there's a truck check and they have to interact with that vehicle. They walk up to the vehicle, they open up like a box, it facially scans the person talking to it to make sure that they're a recognized law enforcement officer, and they can actually pull over an autonomous vehicle, interact with it, and then the truck can say, well, I will leave when your lights are off. And he watched an interaction of a police officer with an autonomous vehicle.
Because they can get a ticket if they're doing something wrong.
And that was something I had never thought of.
Now you tell me that doesn't sound like the beginning of
RoboCop.
Skynet.
It's exactly
he watched
what it is,
happen
Chris.
at a meeting. And to me, that was like,
Chat
That's how
GPT came out last year in November.
That's how.
And they're coming out with 4 and 5 follows, and it is basically self-aware. It's insane where we've gone. Goodbye, everybody.
Just let your head spin.
Sleep well.
Yeah. Somebody's watching.
Thanks for joining us for the Under the Hood Show.